Hello, everybody. Welcome to Comic Strip Illustration, the Masterclass. We're here with week 2 with cartoonist Jeff Wilson, and really excited to continue this exploration and journey of comic strip illustration, and really great in-depth details on the whole process and the history, and really great to learn all of this background as well, so that we can start to think about why this happens, and where all of this comes from. So in terms of again, really happy to continue the digital cartooning series with Jeff Wilson, locally based award-winning cartoonist, and just thrilled to have him here. He will be on this series. We're using the Procreate software, so that's all available on the iPad and the iPhone. And that's really low cost. About $15 and $10 respectively. And again, you could be using any kind of drawing software, but this is one that we found that works quite well, and is a great piece. So you can take these out from our iPads and the CreatorSpace library partners. And on that note, just want to thank all of our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts and all our library partners. That everyone makes this happen. So the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. So without any further ado, I will pass it over to Jeff, and he'll continue on this journey, week 2. Here we go.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom, and I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank all our partners for making all this possible. I'm having so much fun doing these master classes, and I hope you're getting half as much out of them as I am being here teaching you. So let's get right into it. Last week we did a fair bit of history about why we have comic strips and where the medium came from. And today we're going to actually delve right into designing a comic strip. Some of the concepts that I've found over the years that work for me, and show you, what other artists have discovered as well, and just to open up a few things for you to let you see what it can be, what your comic strip can be. We tend to let ourselves get caught up in what we see somebody else doing, because and it's not an improper thing to think, because what they're doing is obviously working on us because we're fans of theirs. So, but my thought is that your journey may be different than theirs. You're a different person. You're a different artist. You might just want to take your feature a little further, and this is what a great comic artist who I didn't even meet him. I think I watched him in a class that I was in, and a man named Will Eisner, and was teaching. He wasn't really teaching; he was demonstrating cartooning at Sheridan College, my first year there. And I didn't know who this guy was, but he could sure draw. That I could tell you. And I remember he just said something. It was to never be afraid to take the medium further than you've seen it taken. Don't let yourself become complacent and just do what everybody else is doing. Never be afraid to experiment and try something. And that's I've talked to a couple other professionals since then, and I mentioned this to them, and they said the same thing. No, it's healthy, even if you don't do it later on. Maybe you want to do the comics the way you've seen it done, the way it's been done successfully, but give it a try. Don't even think twice. If you're at the drawing board and you're having brain freeze, or writer's cramp, or artist cramp, just try something different. Sometimes it'll just get the creative juices flowing, and if for that reason alone, it's worth trying. So today, as I say, we're doing session 2. And I'm just going to move my my camera here from my book here, and we'll turn it to the iPad here. And we're just going to get that in shot, and we will get started here. Okay, so let's get the camera a little better on that angle here. Let's get a better angle here. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so we're going to look at session 2 of the comic strip. So let's take our title down. So today, you remember last week we did our 3 templates for comic panels. And today, for today's lesson, I've chosen the 3 panels because they really, you can really yeah, you can really kind of punch your gags to cut down to 3 panels. And it really helps to, I guess my philosophy on this is less is more. If you can fit a gag into 3 panels, it will really save you time, first of all, but it won't save you time really because you need to punch down your writing. You really have to punch up your writing actually to be strong enough to fit into 3 panels, and never downplay the value of your writing. That's something you should always be trying to work on. Anyway, I'm going to show you a comic strip as you've probably seen comic strips done this way many times. Here we've got two figures here. Let's just zoom on panel number 1 here. We've got 2 figures here leaning onto something, talking. There's the balloons are above them, and it could be a simple conversation here. My wife doesn't understand me, or my dog doesn't understand me, or my grandmother doesn't understand me, and somebody here may be saying, yeah, mine either. And then panel number 2 here, they could be going a little deeper into the problem, what's going on, and nobody understands me. They keep saying I do this and do that. And the third panel, they say something kind of cringeworthy because this person here, you can see by the expression on their face, they don't. They're a little uncomfortable with what was said there. So it was maybe you can tell. I think it already explains itself. I don't even need a gag there. We've all gone through this. So let's go back to just that full screen again. And I'm going to now take that off. Let's try group 3 here, because this is kind of you could do the same gag basically, but with a different angle here. So here we've got the same story. Maybe it's entirely the same story as we've had on that other one, just told from a different angle. These are in silhouettes. These are people walking across maybe a farm field. Here we go, panel 2. My wife doesn't understand me. My tractor doesn't understand me. My cow doesn't understand me. It could be anything you like. And then this panel, the punchline, and we can't see the expression. So this is what really takes away from it, is that you can't see their expressions. Their back is turned to the camera. But if it was another punchline, like here, they might be saying, the world is going into a state of lockdown, and I don't understand it. Where are we going? And oops, what have I just done? Let's open it again. Yes, your fingers can have great power on an iPad. And here it could be kind of a very ethereal punchline. It could be like, maybe we'll never know in this life, or, it might not even be a funny one. It might be just kind of an observant one. I wish I could see what I can't see, or I wish the future just whisper in my ear what's going to happen. Things like that. Things we maybe it's not funny, but it might be just a kind of an ethereal thought that might get through to readers. And a shot like this might be very effective. Anyway, so that, again, it depends on style and whatnot. So let's go to group 2 here. And this is really, really far away. You've got some background in this. This is the 2 characters we had in the previous scene. And you can see a barn here in the background. And let's play the same scene again. And so by itself, this might not be too effective. But it just needs maybe a little more explanation here. But individually, these might fit as scenes in a couple of those other gags. We're going to get into that later. But anyway, here you've got this beautiful drawing of a barn, and maybe them saying the same thing. My barn doesn't understand me. Who knows? And then in the final panel here, the punchline could be, well, as I'm looking at it, I'm trying to come up with a gag. Like what could be the punchline here? At least I can walk away from the problem. If it's a barn, at least I can walk away from the problem once in a while. So that could be something similar to a punchline. Not a very good one, but it could tell the story. So the really cool thing about this is that depending what your gag is, well, first of all let's look at this first one again. This is probably the most common way a comic strip is done in today's gag comic strips. Anyway, it's usually close up. You can see their faces and their expressions, which is great, and it can work really well. But sometimes it's nice to have a little change in the scenery or in the look of the strip. So what I've done here is I've created these 3 different signs, but instead of doing the way we're doing it, we're going to, let's say, open the comic strip with this opening scene in scene 1. And in group 2 here, we're going to take panel number 2, 2A here. And then in group 3, we'll take, panel number C. So we'll take these 2 out. So we have, it's fairly interesting to look at. You could write a gag, write the same gag, write the same dialogue in, and it would give you a few different perspectives. It would kind of open up your view of the 2 characters. It would kind of give you a little better idea where they are. Now, you might choose instead to, and they're moving around quite a bit. Here they're stationary in panel 1. In panel 2, they're walking. There's a real good kind of an establishing shot as to where they are. In panel 3, they're kind of an ethereal thought coming to their minds. So that's maybe what you choose. You might not, though. Let's have a look at another way of skinning the cat here, or kicking the cat, if you will. Let's imagine we are doing a classical type. Let's not do that. Let's try this one. Let's say that we're establishing the scene right off the bat. So here are 2 characters walking. There's a big barn in the background here. This establishes us it's on a farm somewhere. This might be quite rural area here. Here the 2 characters are walking along here, further in discussion, and then we might end with the oops, here we go. What did I do there? It's okay. So here we have the punchline delivered here, and you can see the expression on the face. So you might decide that's what you want to do. I'm not saying that there's any rules other than what tells your story best. It just gives you a little more impact. I'm not saying that it's going to be better than Garfield or worse than Garfield, but you might just try it and see if it tells a story better. And so let's say here they're walking along, they're saying, here I've got this nice farm and nobody understands me. Your typical self-talk. And the other person says, well, mine doesn't either. And my apple trees are giving me sass now. And could go into all kinds of details. And here they might say, I'm thinking of telling my apple trees that they can, maybe some punchline. It could be something like get sauced. I don't know. You could, and that would certainly be worthy of a cringeworthy expression here in panel 3. So yeah, it's great. You got your establishing shot, your build up to the gag, and then your punchline. When I just drew something on that pale there. Anyway, so there's another option. Try it that way. And it's really neat how it goes from far away in panel 1, a little more of a medium shot, or kind of a full length shot in panel 2, and then you've got your close up in panel 3. So that kind of really interesting way of telling a story too. That might be the way I try to tell a story, but obviously there's never a right or wrong way in any of these ideas. Well, let's even try our let's try our medium guys here in panel. Let's see here, I think I just somehow I lost some panels here. Okay, well, anyway, that was funny. I just totally lost a whole section of panels there. Let's see if I can undo that, whatever happened there. I might not be able to get those back, whatever happened. Oh, they are all back now. Oh, thank goodness. The undo tool will be your friend if you be nice to it. So let's try a separate way here. Let's try to start with this from this medium panel here. Let's try to start there. And this is going to be kind of weird because then we're going to zoom into a close-up here. And then we're going into the long distance shot here, this third shot here. So this is kind of a different way of doing it. And of course, it will depend on the way the story is told too, or the way you want to tell the story. Now here we have a medium shot. Now that would indicate that that it's probably something to do with their environment or where they're going here. Because they're in silhouette, they're probably talking about a subject that's a little outside of themselves. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that they're talking about the crop that they've grown in this field. And maybe this fellow's saying, I have no luck with crops. I grew this one last spring, and I'm just not sure about it. And the other guy's saying, oh, well, don't worry about it. We haven't had enough rain yet. And here it's a little closer, so you get a feeling that we're kind of becoming more intimate with these guys. And the way he may want to say it is, yes, but it's just I don't feel I've got that farmer's instinct. I feel like I'm on the outside. I'm not really. My work is just not being recognized by the gods, the agricultural gods or something, and kind of very emotionally. Just having a bit of trouble with my fingers. I think it's because of the humidity. I'm a little sticky to the screen here. And then panel 3 could be, and I've got this big barn and I just don't want it to be empty over another winter. So you see how sometimes the way you present these, it could kind of create the gag you want to do too, or it could at least create little modifications to the way you want to write it too. So we've sort of shown the same gag from about 3 different perspectives. I'm just going to take this one away here. Okay, I had that one duplicated in there. So that's 3 different ways of doing it that way. And you could, of course, create a different way too. You could create a different perspective. It could be... Yeah, but I think that's a good indication of the different ways you could do it. And it gives the reader something different to look at in each panel. Like the way I look at it is like storyboarding, or it's like creating a film where you're trying to have a different angle, a different perspective, tell a different part of the story by the imagery. And of course, as we know, cinematography is so good for that. Your choice of shots and your choice of angles and your choice of close-up, medium, long shots is so impactful for your comics. And if you are a storyteller, that should be your main goal, is telling the story. We all love comic strips. We all love the adventures that comic strips take us in, and we can certainly play with that for ourselves, and I certainly did and have done and continue to do that to see how much better I can tell a story, or how much differently I guess I could tell a story than what I've seen done before. And I certainly have seen it done just about every way you can show it. And again, you could do it 3 straight panels, or you might, the other thing too, is that you may want to, let's just take these down again here. You may think that it would be really cool to have, let's say this one, 2 of these, and the third one being this one. It could be, in this particular shot, which I really like how it moves, it's these 2 characters here walking in a field, and they're walking in this direction. There's a tree here in the background. They're obviously moving further along in the field. And then this final panel, you have the barn, and it could be something to do with the barn. So it kind of builds you up. As long as you come up with something with the barn, your audience will probably get it. You've got this really nice build up here in panels 1 and 2, where they're walking along and they could be talking kind of mystically about something. It's something that's bigger than a bread box, and it smells like a oh golly, it smells like a bathroom. I don't know. It holds everything that I make a living on, and it's so you could be kind of hinting at this all the way through, and then here you say, and I don't have enough money to fix it this year, so it'll hold all my grain. I don't know. That could be your punchline or something, hopefully better. But that's the really nice part about it, is you're building up to something, and then if you can deliver a good punchline, you'd have to work on the wording a bit. That might be you've kind of got the whole idea, but the punchline, that would probably take a few goes at editing some text and having a good punchline. You probably want to make it as simple as possible, and make it as clear as possible you're talking about the barn. You might not even have to mention the barn by name. You might just say, and here it is. It's occupying all the space, and I don't know. You'd have to work on that, as I say, and that's what we love about this. Or another kind of a mixture of these could be, and it's maybe a more logical one too. These 2 here and this final panel here, and maybe the same build up, the same build up to the same gag. It's bigger than a bread box, and it smells like a bathroom or whatever. And a lot of farmers make jokes about moving out of their houses from their wives and moving into the barn. And it's in Canada, it's not a real option, but I'm sure it's been tried different times. But it might be something like that too, or it might be, to get away from it all. It's my getaway from all the worries of life. I go here and I forget about the other worries. It kind of takes me away. So that could be your punchline and gag too. So you have to have a fertile imagination to make sense of it, and to put it into something that will be fun for the audience. And let's try another combination here. You might think that you want to do your long distance shots here. And let's take panel C out here, that one. And we might be, I'm just wondering if this might work. I'm experimenting. This is what we do, right? This is our trial. And this is with something I've pre-drawn. And I'll have a comment about what I've done here, and we can talk about it later. But so they could be walking along, talking about the barn, expressing their worries about something, and it could be like an ethereal thought, like the life is full of roadblocks, and I think I've hit a few just lately, and I'm really not feeling happy, and I just would like a little break. And maybe he could say, well, maybe I'll take up knitting. You've got the cringeworthy look on the last guy. You could build it into something. If you've got a fertile creative imagination, with enough practice, you could build a gag out of of any combination of these drawings and still have a really good thing going. In my opinion, and of course, and it's not like I've made a multi-million-dollar contract with my ideas, so you don't have to take my word for it, but try it out for yourself. It's not it's inexpensive if you're using the software anyway. And I have to really go back to what Tom said. The software here, and the Affinity software as well, that we're talking about, the Procreate software here, is so accessible, so cost of low cost. Anybody can really afford it if they can afford the iPad. Is certainly a good place to start if you want to start drawing. Your Apple Pencil is a great tool. And it's not, you don't have to get Procreate. You can get many other programs as well. But look at all you get with it. You can just create things. You can create things on layers. Like, look at all the layers I got here. This is all the layers I've done for this lesson here, and of course the Affinity software too, with the photo processing and the just great. So it's certainly worth exploring. And if you've got this anyway, as I was saying, why not try some different things? Why not try some different angles? Test yourself as an artist, and even if you just did this one time, you could archive this drawing in Procreate, and you can keep it somewhere. And let's say 3 years from now, you were going to do a comic strip, and you thought, well, I have this barn that I did back in June of 2021. I think I might just reuse that for a cartoon to save myself a bit of drawing. By all means, that's the great thing about Procreate and the Affinity software. You can store your favorite artwork and bring it back and call it back up, reuse it for things. And for things especially like barns, well, not barns, but any kind of building or any kind of background you want, that's a lot of work, drawing the backgrounds. If you've got a background that you're going to be using again and again, it doesn't hurt to just save it and just drop it in when the next time you start a strip on a farm, or if you're doing a background with a school or something. If you just draw your school once, and maybe when your strip starts, that'll be the first shot, will be the school with the word balloons coming out. That's an option for you, and save that as clip art, and draw it up another time. And so any of these drawings that I've done here, I've done a fair bit of drawing, but the good thing is that I could just save this and bring it back another time. But I would say you probably will do this with your characters too anyway, and I would certainly suggest you do. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and we would say, if I was you, I would do this. And forget the fact that we'd all end up in the principal's office the next day. But this is something, I'm not telling you to do this, but I certainly would suggest you consider it. You can save your archive your favorite drawings, particularly the ones you think you may reuse. Now, your characters especially, it's good to have a template for them, and I think we discussed that in another group of sessions, where creating your character, creating the sheet, the character sheet. But if you've got a favorite set of poses of your character, save those, archive those, keep them, and you may find that you want to drop them into a gag somewhere. Too. It's your characters, your backgrounds. The backgrounds is probably the best thing. If you can save any backgrounds. And in comics, they're not usually that sophisticated. Certainly with my comic strip, The Average Farm and Flats Farm, where I created these very rural type backgrounds, and I owe a lot of the way those were designed to people like Walt Kelly, who kind of set a template, and he didn't take shortcuts. He did it the same. He drew them all new every week. So I have to give him credit. But the idea was there that you could create a template for a background that you were going to reuse anyway, and just pop it in and draw your characters around it. And if you wanted to, draw your templates of your characters as well. And let's just go back to the characters here for a second. I'll just go back to panel A here. So talking about drawing templates for characters, and the first time I'd heard about this was Frank Fletcher, who was a friend of my great uncle's, and he was the artist for Bringing Up Father, written by Bill Cavanaugh, and of course created by let's see, I can't think of his name. Anyway, created many years before that, but it had become a very popular strip and was redrawn by new people. And I think from what I heard, Frank Fletcher basically drew from templates all the time, and he had saved these templates, and he would just trace them, and he had a beautiful line style, and he would just part of his templates from an old strip or from a rough he'd done, he would just redraw that, and he saved himself a lot of time, and the strip still looked fantastic. He still looked like a lot of drawings, looked like a lot of work, but he saved himself a lot of time and work. So that's just something you consider as a cartoonist. Don't put yourself to more work than you need to. You're a storyteller. Leave the work in the storytelling, the gag writing, the plotting of your gag. That's where most of your work can be and should be. And if you can, any way you can shorten your workload in the drawing department will be your friend. It'll help you down the road. And that's my best advice there. But on the other hand, don't lose the joy of drawing too. If sometimes you just have I could reuse a this barn scene from way back when, but if you really feel moved to draw a barn and in a way that you've never seen it drawn before, it'll really punch the gag, or a school or whatever background you want. If you really just want to draw this explosively wonderful background that you've been dying to do, yeah, that's what you got to do. That's what we do as cartoonists. And the good news is that you can save that, and maybe there will be another opportunity to bring that back. And it's certainly so easy to do that. And I can show you a little bit of how you can do that with Procreate. It's really great. You almost have to, let's say we want to, let's pick this background of the barn here in particular. So we're going to go to our layers. We're going to click all these layers here to close them up, and then our background color. So we don't see our background now. So we go to the tool here, and actually we want to copy. So we go to actions and add, and then go down to copy, click that, and it has copied that particular file. And that's the only one showing. So this is why we've done that. So we're going to create a new Procreate file here. And I've been choosing these on the untitled canvases here. And so we've got a canvas with a white background. So we go back to the wrench tool here, and it's not showing we did anything. So we need to go back here. Let's go back to gallery, and we'll go back to our class this week. So let's copy canvas. Okay, so we've copied everything on the canvas. I think that's what I didn't do. And let's go back to our untitled artwork here. Go to our wrench tool, and here it gives us the option to paste. It's the very last choice here in that. And as you can see, it dropped that in there. So this shows you that you can so easily copy and paste it to another file, create your new comic strip, and you're away. And what I have done with the in this particular file, our comic strip masterclass file, let's just open that up, and we'll open the background color again, because otherwise it's just a black background. But if I just duplicate this file every time, it will save my templates every time. What I should do is create a file with my templates on it. So I should have like border templates. So I have my 3-panel borders, and my down here I have my 2-panel borders. Let's just show you those again. Our panel borders. So there's our 2-panel borders, and our 1-panel border. Actually, it's a 2-panel border because it's a long one. So you can save these as a separate place too, and that'll save you a lot of work. And we went through this last week too, and it's a lot of fun to just have the panel pop up there and create it. There's so many options. I was so glad I did that, because and then of course our 4 panels option too, and that's for a gag that requires a little more explanation, and maybe you know. And the really neat thing too about panels is that, let's go back to our 3-panel template for this particular gag. So let's say we're going with all these gag 1 panels. What you can do is let's see. Well, we can take our tool here. Let's make it our inking tool and make it a white color here. And you can do this really magical thing. And that is to take, okay, let's get the right. Let's create a new layer over top of the 3 panels here. And what we're going to do is going to color over top of this panel, and color right to the edge of our balloon here. And we're going to really open up that middle panel by doing this. I like doing this in my comics because I think it's another form of storytelling, especially with that middle panel. If you take out the border here, it kind of gives you opens up the space to do. I don't know. It just seems to open it up, makes it more interesting to look at. I know of Charles Schultz, of Broomhilda's Russell Myers. He did this all the time. I think all the cartoonists have done this from time to time. High and Lois, Mort Walker. Mort Walker was another guy. He was the guy who showed me that what you could do with silhouettes, and what you could do with just outlines of people's heads. It was very nice work. So this is something you can do with the border too. And if you don't like it, if you want to just have this cut off, you can do that, what I've just done there, or you can just take the rest of it off there. There, there it's back to the way we had it. So anyway, I think that's a pretty good explanation of what you can do to make your comic stand out, and to help you with your storytelling. It's just a way of, it's all about telling the story. It's not about being the best artist or being the best writer. If you can be the best storyteller, if you can, and do it as simply as possible. Less is more is my philosophy there. And by taking out a line here on that just simplified it so much. It to me, it made it look great. So I think with that being said, I will bring the camera back to me here, and I'll turn it over to Tom. And thank you again.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Fantastic. Really, again, a lot of great insight, and always learning a lot on these as well. So I just want to bring up we do have Jeff can answer questions. Just going to get up his email here for everyone. I put it in the chat, but if you have any questions, because as we this ongoing masterclass occurs, so you can email jeffwilsonmentorship@gmail.com. So if you are working on your comic strip, or you have questions about any of these concepts that Jeff has presented, or just in general about comic strip illustration, or if you're stuck on something, or want a little more or feedback, Jeff would be happy to answer that. I also put my email up in the chat, so if you have technical questions, we can look at that as well. If it's how to load the software, or will it work on your device, right? So I think the key too is, so that Procreate is iPad based, and again, there's other drawing software and apps out there. Same idea, like the layers and the copying and pasting. I think that's great too. The fact that what Jeff was showing is that the digital technology capability, that you can just simply copy and paste, so you're not redrawing something and having to sketch over something. So it makes for a really quick thing, and to reuse elements, right? And like Jeff was saying, like once you have a library, I think that's a great way to look at things. It's like you can have this library of your assets, right? To utilize. So yeah, really good to think about that process. So yeah, any kind of tech questions, you can email me, and then Jeff. Um, and what there's we have one question here. So just in terms of the Procreate tutorials, Jeff, yourself, like do you learn with trial and error, and when you're like looking at new apps in general, or do you like to pre-watch some tutorials yourself?
A bit of both. I tend to trial and error and figure out my own way. Now it's when I run into something that it's when I try to climb a mountain I can't climb. That's when I really go to the tutorials, and they are very helpful. There's lots available online, on YouTube in particular, I guess, but there's lots available. Lots of technical help. Yeah, I found, though, but trial and error. I that's doing really helps it to stick in my mind. I think the hands-on stuff, but yeah, the both really are. I'm glad they're both available to me, because I do access both. But as I say, generally, I'd like to play with it with my hands first.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's perfect, Jeff. Yeah, and technically, I can add to that just in terms of, a lot of the software. Remember, like what you see is what you get, and I think like you right away, okay, you can try out a brush, and okay, this is what it's doing, and then if you don't like it, you can just, if you're working again those layers, get rid of it, undo, right? So, so you're never stuck with anything in the digital world versus if you're inking or painting, it's on the canvas. That's it, right? Like you have to like white it out, right? So the undo is a lot easier and friendlier. So, and I think with a through line, if you're joining us for different sessions, different software, you'll start to see that a lot of the user interface, and I think that's really key, is like the layers. The layers work in like photo post processing, in illustration, video, sound. Everything's layers in the digital user interface. So, I think Jeff has worked on different pieces of software, as I have myself, and then once those user interfaces become very similar, so it becomes, so if you're maybe first time using a piece of software, there's a bit of a steeper learning curve. But like for Jeff, who's used so many different types of software too, I think there, you start, that user interface starts to be somewhat common in terms of like layers and copy paste, right, and that kind of idea. So I think it's a little gentler to hop around, right? Right, Jeff? Wouldn't you say it's a little bit easier to?
Say that, yes, yeah, very definitely. Yeah, it's yeah, the digital world is it's you're right. It's all pretty much a similar platform. It's all designed the same way, and yeah, if you have that background on it, it does make it easier to do this. But the layers is a great thing for what we do here with the cartooning, because you can, as you say, like when you put that ink line down or that paint line down, it's there, and you used to be able to buy something called whiteout that would just white over top of it. And you could redraw it, but that was a lot more work than just hitting undo. So I think we're on a good upswing here with the digital equipment.
Yeah, and again, don't worry so much about the technical. I think what Jeff is showing here, and is that creative and expressing yourself is the priority one, and the technical, you'll learn more and more. Myself, and I talk to Jeff about this all the time, we're learning new things as we present workshops too. It's like, oh, there's this other way of doing this. So there's a million ways to do the same thing, and the learning process of the software itself never really ends. But think of the creative is a kind of a whole other thing, right? So if you're ever stuck, you can always go back to a piece of paper. If the power goes out, right, like we go back to a piece of paper when you need to get that idea out, right? So I think just always that think of that too, right? So yeah, so command, yeah, just kind of a question here. Yeah, so you can two double tap, like two finger on the Procreate undo, and there's an undo like bar, right? There's the two things. So there's two ways to do the same thing, right? So you can go back, and then some. Yeah, and yeah, Jeff's just saying, yeah, you can. Sorry, I didn't go back to it, but yeah, Jeff was saying
undo
undo
and
and redo.
redo as well, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
So
That's right. Yes, they're just one on top of the other on the left side of the opacity and the tool width bar, which is just on the left side of your app there. So yeah, and I use them all the time, so I know them quite well. And you will too if you and the more you use them, the more you learn about what they do. So it's yeah, don't be afraid to just do something and say, oh boy, do I ever hate that, and just undo about 60 times and go back to a certain point when you felt like it was going the right direction. It's all part of the process.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, Jeff. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and I think it's a key tool. Every software basically has that undo in all the digital arts software. So it's crucial because you're sometimes you hit something by accident, even like you're on by with your thumb and you have to undo it. So it's yeah, that's your friend, and yeah. So I'll leave it at that. So we're down to the end of our time now, but want to thank Jeff for this amazing ongoing course. We have Jeff's doing a July masterclass, and there'll be an August one as well. We don't have the August one up yet, but please sign up for there's 2 more weeks of this one. So if you want to get the auto signups, just sign up through Eventbrite, and you can purchase a ticket for each week, and then it'll give you the auto reminders. But otherwise, you're on this digital ticket. It gives you access to all 4 weeks, so you can do it as that easy to just remember your digital ticket, go back to it, and then you can rewatch these. And in July, we're going to be exploring some animation concepts in like 2D animation, which is going to be really exciting, and looking at that process as well. And then in August, we're going to get into essentially kind of a marketing idea. We're going to start to bring that as well. Jeff will explore the branding and marketing aspects of cartooning as well, and illustration. So that's really exciting. So make sure, stay tuned for that. We hope to see you guys next week, and then in July as well. And again, want to thank all our partners in this project. Jeff Wilson, number one, and then all our other partners, Canada Council for the Arts. We have the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Library. So again, you can rewatch this. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next Saturday, same time and same channel, 10 a.m., and we'll see you then. Take care.